New 72 Radio, the voice, views, and visions of the collective.
My name is Mary Berger with ComputerDiva, and I have on my show today my guest, Beverly Wells, the CEO of RiverWest Acupuncture. Welcome, Beverly.
Thank you, and good morning.
So we are live on Facebook, and I was just telling Bev before we went live that I've got it pulled up over here on my iPad, and as soon as I see it pop up, I'm going to share it now, and here it is. So I'm just going to take a second to kind of share this out to my page, because we're live on the New 72 Media page. So that is done. But basically, the reason why we're here today is I now do my Diva Talk show once a month, the last Thursday of the month, at 9 a.m. in the morning, live on Facebook. And then we are also recording this to go on YouTube, probably sometime in the next week or so. So for those of you who are probably going to be watching this recording later, we are recording this on Thursday. It is July 26th, 9 a.m. in the morning. We're in the greater Pacific Northwest, Vancouver, Portland area. And we are in the middle of kind of a heat wave. And I'm really getting tired of the heat, and I'm looking forward to it getting a little bit cooler. And Kelly, who is our producer working behind the scenes, she is from New 72 Media. They are the producers of Diva Talk, and they also produce a lot of other internet podcasts, and they do book publishing and website building. They do all sorts of stuff. So Kelly's in the background. She's actually east of us, on the eastern side of the state, and they are in a much warmer weather than we are. So Kelly, I'm really sorry about that, but we're looking forward to cooler weather sometime next week. So with that said, Bev, welcome. I started doing this series of interviews with female business owners, entrepreneurs, either solo entrepreneurs or women who work in business or own their own businesses, because I've become kind of fascinated about the whole area of women business owners and technology. And since I work with technology myself, I fix and repair computers, both Windows and Mac, I really have become interested in what other people are doing in terms of technology in their businesses. I'm finding that there's a wide range of technology that everybody uses. So I wanted to start out, Bev, by asking you to tell us a little bit about yourself and RiverWest Acupuncture and how you came to be their CEO.
So I have been with RiverWest for 8 years now. RiverWest has been in existence for 23. So my wife is Lisa Francolini. Mm-hmm. And she is the owner and the acupuncturist, the main acupuncturist. And about probably 10 years ago, she was in a business coaching session, and she said, I want to be a destination, and I want my own building. We were renting, or she was renting at the time.
Okay.
And I was actually in a job working for my sister, who had a company that installed telephone systems. So I did all the sales engineering for that. So I actually came out of a very high-tech
yes, you did.
industry. And Lisa said, I can't do this. I can't see this many patients and like find a building and buy a building. And, you know, I can't do all the administration stuff. So how would you like to come and work for me? And I said, I think that would be great, because, you know, the technology industry is just constantly changing. And I was tired of just trying to keep ahead of the curve all the time.
Right.
So I came and we found a building, we bought it, I moved the practice into it. And Lisa's dream was to be able to hire acupuncturists. It's a tough field to get into. Mm-hmm. And to be successful in. And so with all her experience, she wanted to mentor practitioners and, you know, hire them as employees and really give them a landing place. So you need somebody that can help in managing all that. So that's how I came to RiverWest. And at this point, we have quite a smooth running operation. And so I've actually started going out and doing consulting with other practitioners, specifically around the billing piece of it. So okay. I'm starting to branch out a little bit myself.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So I have been a patient at RiverWest Acupuncture.
If you can say that, I can't say that.
and I have to tell you, the building and the external and internal are beautiful, and you walk in and you just get this feeling of zen. You're calm. It's cool. You know, once you walk in that building that you're going to be very well taken care of. And so why don't you tell us a little bit about the different types of services that you offer?
So within the building, so as far as RiverWest Acupuncture, we obviously offer acupuncture services. And within acupuncture, though, it's acupuncture, and the acupuncturists are also licensed Chinese herbalists. So we have a fairly significant inventory of Chinese herbs. So when you come in, you will get acupuncture. We have the herbs. Along with the Chinese medicine piece of it, there's cupping, which if you watch the Olympics and you see the Olympians with the round black and blue marks.
On their backs?
On their backs, yeah. Typically it's done on the back. Uh-huh. And it's just a form of drawing the qi and the toxins to so that the blood can take them away. There's moxa, which is it's an herb that gets burned, and it's good for treating asthma. It's good for treating sprains, that kind of stuff. It can actually turn a baby. So you burn moxa on a point on the little toe, and it'll turn a breech baby.
Really?
Yes. So it's kind of, yeah, it's really kind of crazy. I always think, like, who figured that out? You know, like
I know, who thought to put something hot in the vaginal canal to turn a baby around? It just So there's really a variety of things within the Chinese medicine side of things. And then Lisa was trained a few years ago with a process called the emotion code, which is a energy healing technique. So she offers that. And that's within RiverWest Acupuncture. And then within the building, we have licensed massage therapists, we have an esthetician, we have a family counselor, and I think that's it right at the moment. So it's a wide variety of services, all healing kind of services. Exactly. Yeah. The one thing that I really liked, and I've only done it once, only because it's kind of a waste to drive for me. I love the group acupuncture sessions.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. So our goal, Lisa said, I will never do community acupuncture. We call it community acupuncture. That was one thing she said, I will never do that. And then 2008, 9, 10 came along, and we had so many patients that were losing jobs, losing benefits. They just couldn't afford to come and see us anymore and without insurance. And so we said, okay, well, this would be a way that they could still continue to come, and it's affordable. So we will do a community acupuncture, which means you get an individualized treatment, but it is in a community session. So we put you in zero gravity chairs. The acupuncturist comes in, you fill out a little form that says, you know, here's what's going on with me today. So there's not a lot of conversation like you would get in an individual treatment, but it's still like, if you have a headache, you're stressed out, you know, you have pain somewhere, you can still say, oh, I have a horrible headache today, or I'm sick, or whatever your issue is. They'll needle you, you're going to lay there for an hour, and there's just other people in the room with you. So, and we charge $25 for it. So it's very, very affordable.
Extremely affordable. And my experience with it was that you go into the room and you get in the zero gravity chair, you fill out your form and all that good sort of stuff, but everybody else in the room is very respectful. We all have eye coverings on, so you're not seeing everybody, and everybody's in a very relaxed state. Some people with headsets on, but I thought it was a fabulous experience. I mean, for $25 to go in and for take a nap for an hour, which is basically what you're doing.
Adult nap time.
Yeah, absolutely. It was pretty awesome.
Yes.
So yeah, I just wish I was closer to you guys, because I'd be there all the time.
Yeah. The interesting thing about it is sometimes acupuncture is so different for everybody, and sometimes when I'm in a room by myself, I'll get a little antsy and think, okay, is it time yet?
Right.
When are they coming back? And there's something about the energy in the community room.
Mm-hmm.
I just go to sleep every time. I have never been antsy in a community session. I think it's the oddest thing, but there is a energy that happens within the group that is very hard to explain, but it's very palpable and very definitely there.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, So, as you went through your career, did you have any sort of specific mentors that helped you along the way? I know in my career I've had a few, and they've been extremely helpful, and I was just curious if you had any.
Let's see, not specifically that I would say that we had it like an official mentoring relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I've done business coaching for years. I've had the same business coach for probably 15 years, 10, 15 years, both at my previous job and use the same one now.
Oh, cool.
So, I mean, that's a relationship. It's a little different than mentoring, but still, I don't feel like I'm out there floundering all by myself. In my old job, one of the things that I dealt with a lot were medical offices. So I had a lot of contacts in the clinic administrator realm,
Mm-hmm.
So when I came to RiverWest, there were a lot of people that they liked me. And so, they had called me for years saying, hey, Bev, I need help. What do I do in this situation from a technology perspective? And so I thought, hey, payback, it's payback time. So when I first came to RiverWest, I called them frequently and said, hey, I have this issue. I have this HIPAA issue. I have, what do I do with this insurance? How do I bill this?
Exactly.
And they were really generous with their time and their information. So I was really lucky and appreciative to have those as resources.
Right.
So they kind of acted as a mentor for me.
Yeah.
As I am where I am now, I had worked for my sister, and because she had been in business and because she has so many different interests and she's in the place in life where she is, I will frequently call her and say, hey, I have this issue, more about like HR kind of things,
Yeah.
What do you know about this, or what do you do about this, or in some of the financial things. Well, how are you guys dealing with this? And so she has been a really great resource. And there's so many times that I have said to Lisa, no, we are not doing this. Here's what we're going to do. I learned this from Bonnie, from my sister. This is what I learned. You never do this. You make sure you do this, so probably in a way she was a mentor for me as well, just because of, she was 10 years or 15 years ahead of me in terms of running her own business,
Yeah. I know from my experience, when I started my business, it's been about 9.5 years now. And for the first, I'd say 4 or 5 years, I was really kind of on my own. I didn't know a lot of other IT people who were doing the same thing that I was. I mean, I knew a handful of people in the area, but that was about it. And they were all male-dominated businesses and not the least bit interested in helping out another person in the same type of business. They looked at me as competition.
Sure.
And from my perspective, there is no competition. There's plenty of work out there for everybody. And I finally came across several groups of IT people doing the same thing I do, Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups. And once I got dialed into those groups and started making friends, everything went completely different with me and my business. Everything opened up. And it was really interesting to me to see that once you start talking to people who do the same thing you do or similar things, it basically opens up the energy, and it gives you a lot more collaboration. And it's really awesome for me to be able to have those groups of people to talk to and say, hey, I've got a client who is having this issue. I've never run across it. Has anybody else out there ever run across it? Yeah. And you have 50 people giving you an answer. And it's just really awesome. So I think mentors or groups are things and resources that female business owners really need to get dialed into. And I've run across a lot who just have been struggling in this area. So that's why I kind of wanted to ask you that question. So moving on, I have, in addition to the groups that I belong to, I also listen to a lot of podcasts, and they can be on a wide range of subjects. I've got, IT business owners groups podcasts. One of my favorites is Skimmed from the Couch, from the women who have created the Skim newsletter, an email newsletter. I was curious to find out, do you listen to any podcasts, and which ones do you find helpful if you do?
I do listen to a few. So one that I listen to almost every night, it puts me to sleep, is Tammy Simons' Sounds True.
Tammy Simons?
Yes. So it's a spiritual component. And the specific podcast is called Insights at the Edge.
Insights at the Edge. Okay.
Yeah. So she interviews just all kinds of people. So they might be from different religious backgrounds. It's different spiritual thoughts and it ranges from kind of psychology to New Age thinking to, she's had Catholic priests on there, Buddhist monks, you name it.
All over the board.
All over the board, yes. She's a really good interviewer. She's an excellent interviewer. And they're also a publisher, and they have all kinds of CDs and stuff to sell. Right. But the podcast itself is really really interesting. I will also listen to Freakonomics sometimes, just like from a business perspective, or NPR. Rachel Maddow, without getting into the political arena, I stay away from that sometimes just because it gets me too riled up. So I want to listen to something that's more calming for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. I know a couple of the other ones I listen to is Magic Lessons with Elizabeth Gilbert. She's got this great series that she's done for a couple of years. I always go back and listen to all the old Wayne Dyer podcasts.
Oh, yeah.
Which are really cool. I've got, specifically in IT, I've got a person who does something similar to but she just dials into Office 365, and her business is called, her podcast is called, it's the Call That Girl's Office 365 podcast. That's the name of her business, Call That Girl. And then of course Profit First. I'm a recent Profit First junkie, so I listen to their podcasts. So pretty cool stuff. In terms of networking, I've met a lot of female business owners who are really gung-ho into networking, and that's how they build their business. And I've met quite a few who just shy away from networking altogether. What kind of networking do you do?
I do, I'm in a small group, the CTS group, which is how you and I know each other.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that group is more about almost more about emotional, spiritual support for me. There's very definitely business support as well, but from a leads perspective, it's a small group, so my business is not going to depend on the leads that I get in that group, right?
Yeah.
I also I'm a member of LaTip. So that's a much larger organization.
Right.
And, it meets once a week. It's very definitely a leads group. It's similar to a BNI. Lisa is a member of BNI. So,
right.
And we didn't do networking. Lisa didn't do networking for years and years and years. And a couple of years ago, somebody from the BNI group that we like to network with said, "Oh, the acupuncturist left. You guys have to come." And so we went, and it was such great energy in that group that we said, "Oh, wow, like this is fun," instead of some of the other groups we had gone to that, as you're doing your networking, you just feel like people are like, "Oh my goodness, would you just shut up because I want to tell you about me," And so I feel like both of these groups that each of us are in have been, we've gotten a tremendous amount of business from them, and I really enjoy both groups.
Awesome.
And I think networking can be for different reasons. Some of them are a little bit more support-ish, which I feel like the CTS is. Those are my ladies, and I really enjoy that. And that's a way different vibe than the LaTip or the BNI.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've also run across all sorts of women in business, whether it be solo entrepreneurs, women in corporations, women in small businesses. And I found that there's kind of a common theme going amongst them all, and that theme is a difficulty in staying motivated in the business. And what I found is that those who have a real hard time keeping their energy up and staying motivated are those that are out there all on their own, just one person in the business, similar to me. I've gone through periods where up and down, where sometimes I have great enthusiasm for my business. And then I go through periods of time where it's almost a hardship. And have you ever experienced that? Of course, you're in a different type of business where you've got an office full of people surrounding you, but do you have any issues at any point in time keeping yourself motivated to go out there and tackle the day?
Yes. I think I think that's a human condition, Mary, actually. I think I think it is a rare person who doesn't some days just say, "You know what? I don't really want to do this today."
Exactly.
Although I do think putting practices into place can help that a little bit. But there are days that I think, I'd really like to sit on my back patio and, watch the world go by, and I just don't feel like going to work today.
Yeah.
Now I feel like I'm really fortunate. I get to go to work with my wife. We have a beautiful place to go to. It's not particularly stressful. Everything runs really well. So, I have really an ideal environment. And even in that, there are still days where you think, I want to stay home today.
Yeah.
But I also feel like that the whole putting the practices in place that help you kind of stay focused can help.
And I think that's a true statement, because I know for me, if I go through my regular morning routine, if I get out and do a walk every morning and I drink lots of water and I take my vitamins and make sure I have a good breakfast, those are the days when I'm going to be doing better. And the other practice that I have is when I go to bed at night, just set my intention for the next day. And I know the times when I fail to do that or forget to do it, or I've just been too busy and I just fall into bed and fall asleep. I know that the next day is kind of a struggle because I haven't put that specific intention out there. It makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I recently did a 40-day meditation, 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes at night. And I have never been able to sit consistently and meditate. And, I just played around with different forms of meditation. I didn't get really hung up on don't move. And, it wasn't a rigid meditation. I've been going to a class recently that's much more relaxed, and you actually lay down when you meditate, and it's okay. And it gave me permission to be a little bit more experimental in how I did that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh my goodness, I still get the benefit, and I don't have to sit ramrod straight and be perfect. And if I have an itch, don't scratch it. And, and I think there's value in learning how to do that, but it didn't really work that great for me. So I've been able to kind of keep the practice up, and I noticed that it makes a tremendous difference in my day if I can take some time in the morning and spend some time just, calming everything and stopping everything. And it just gives me that space to create my day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had this fabulous idea the other night. The evenings here have been gorgeous. I mean, it cools down, and my back deck is just this wonderful place to go. So about 3 nights ago, I decided I'm going to go out on the back deck. I had my headset with me. I had calming music on. I was going to do some meditation, and I was attacked by the mosquitoes.
Oh.
That was the last time I decided I was going to go on the deck to do that. So, but yeah, that regular meditation practice is really kind of key into keeping your motivation up. So let me ask you, let's get into the technology piece of our interview. So I'm going to ask you some specific questions. And first off, are you an Apple or a Mac person? I'm sorry, an Apple or a Windows person?
Windows.
Yeah, most people are. I've got a combination all around me. I've got a couple of Macs over on this side. I've got some Windows over here, a couple of Windows computers behind me. So, yeah. I
just figured out, probably within the last month on a Mac, how to move the cursor on the touchpad. It's like, how do you do this? Oh, yeah.
They're different. I mean, Windows and Mac really, once you learn how to use the Mac, they're really easy. But there's some fundamental differences where you close the window on the left instead of the right, and instead of the toolbar being tied to your window, it's up at the top of the screen, so it's not tied to your app. And so just some really fundamental differences that make it hard for people to really learn how to use them. So I remember I had never used a Mac until I think it was back in 2010. I bought my first Mac because my clients kept saying to me, can you fix my Mac? And I'd have to say to them, I've never touched one. I've never used one. I have no clue. So I finally bought one and signed up for a year's worth of classes at the Apple Store, and took all those classes, taught myself how to repair them, and it's now probably about 30 to 35% of my business.
Yeah. So good business
great investment. Yeah. So you're a Windows user. What about your cell phone? Android or Apple?
Apple. So that's very interesting, because years ago, before we even did iPhones, Lisa had got an iTouch.
Yes.
And so I learned how to maneuver on that. And then when it came time to, okay, are you going to get an iPhone or an Android? The iPhone was familiar, and I looked at the Android, and the guy in the store was trying to explain it to me, and I thought, oh my goodness, I just don't want to deal with that. The funny thing is, Mary, I think I spent so long with my nose in manuals, figuring out technology, that I am completely averse to doing that. In our household now, if there's something to figure out like that, I give it to Lisa and say, you figure it out. I don't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
And so when it came to that Android, it was like, yeah, I don't want to figure this out. Give me the iPhone.
Awesome. So I know that I'm the same thing. I have the Apple iPhone, and I have an iPad. And so, but in my business, I really have to learn how to use all forms of technology, unless I really want to specialize in one. So I went out and bought an Android tablet. This was probably, 3 or 4 years ago. And it was difficult for me to figure out.
Mm.
And the deal with them is there are so many different flavors of the Android operating system, and all sorts of different hardware, different companies producing it. And you can customize it. You can get different skins and customize it to the point where there's no way any other Android device is going to look or operate just like yours. So it really becomes difficult to support. So I basically stopped supporting Android devices not long after I bought one, because I realized there's no way. There's no way.
Yeah.
No way. And do you own a tablet?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. An iPad?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I have a little Dell that is also, it flips around and it's also a tablet.
Right. Right. One of those combination computer tablet
Yes.
type things.
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you remember when you got your first computer?
Well, my degree was actually computer science. So that was back in, I graduated in 82.
Okay.
And back then the Apple like PC was just coming out. I didn't have
a little
one.
Square box.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I learned on mainframes because PCs weren't really a thing yet,
No, not yet.
Yeah. And at the time I had an internship at GE, and I would take a little, I think it was called a teledex thing, and I'd take the phone, and stick it into the, I'm really dating myself, and it went at 300 baud. And I would teletype. I was programming at the time, and I would teletype, and then it would spit some stuff out, and then I'd look at it and teletype some more. Yeah. So so my first computer, I think, was probably in the mid 80s. I think I was probably in the Air Force, and I worked on a computer somewhere along the line, like on a PC, like what we know as a PC, like a desktop right now, as we know. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think mine was in 84, 85, Radio Shack TRS 80. And it had green instead of the black.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I had a hard drive. I think you might have even put the DOS system in as a floppy.
Maybe a 5 1/4 inch floppy.
Yeah. Or that might have been a Texas Instrument or something. That's a long time ago. So.
And I remember, mine came with no hard drive, and probably about a year after I got it, hard drives had hit the marketplace. So I thought, I'm going to buy a hard drive. And I got a 10 megabyte hard drive for $300.
Oh, yeah. And you thought, I'll never fill this up. Right?
This will last forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty incredible. It's amazing how far we've come since those days.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And then in your current office, what kind of technology do you use?
It's so funny because, if you think about acupuncture, it's 5,000 years old.
Right.
So in terms of the acupuncture itself, we're pretty much using needles.
Needles, yeah. They haven't changed.
Yeah, they haven't. Well, they probably, engineered them a little different. I think 5,000 years ago, I don't really even know if they used bamboo or what they used.
Yeah.
5,000 years ago. But we're a little unique in our office around the acupuncture portion of it. We actually have a piece of technology. It's called a digital meridian imaging.
Right.
Not a lot of offices have it in Portland anyway. And what it does is you hold a metal probe in one hand, and then there's another probe that you put a Q-tip in the top of it and wet it. And then the acupuncture, and that's connected to a computer that runs the software.
Okay.
And then the acupuncturist puts the Q-tip on different points on your body. It's hands and feet. And what it does is it measures the resistance in the meridian, which those are the energetic lines that acupuncture works off of.
Right.
So it can tell like which meridians are working too hard, which meridians aren't working hard enough, if there's a balance, because in Chinese medicine, they want your body to be balanced. So they want left side, right side, above the waist, below the waist. And then that tells the practitioner at a very deep level what's going on in your body. So
okay.
that's actually an interesting piece of technology that we use from a purely acupuncture perspective.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it spits out this report, and it's, you know, got little bar graphs, and it's really, really fascinating. It tells what your what your energy level is, and, you know, how balanced you are, and there's just a tremendous amount of information that the practitioner can take from that.
Yeah.
In terms of like running the office, because we have to bill and bill insurance, we take insurances, so we have to do that. Fortunately, we use software that is all web-based, and it's the insurance companies actually kind of, I don't know how to describe it, but they're like the backers of this.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're using it for billing, it's free.
Exactly. Yeah.
And if you use it, because we do all electronic chart notes, then there's a small fee to pay. It's like $19 a person or something like that per month, which is really inexpensive.
Yeah.
So we're really sitting there with a bunch of PCs.
Yeah.
And I have 2 of the PCs networked together, but really, I mean, we don't need a server, which is a tremendous expense that we don't have to deal with, you know, because as you know, servers and keeping that software up and the maintenance and all that is really expensive.
Yeah.
And so we're lucky because of the way we do business, and, you know, most of our stuff is online. It's web-based, it's online. We do use Office 365, and mostly it's about SharePoint, and we use a hosted exchange through Microsoft for email.
Awesome. And is there any sort of frustration that you have concerning technology?
When it doesn't work, I have 0 patience. Absolutely no patience whatsoever.
Exactly.
So probably the biggest frustrations for us are when Windows doesn't update, and then how does it affect the billing software. So sometimes when Windows doesn't update, then it affects the billing software, which is always a problem for us. Now, they're also really good about, as soon as that happens, they're right on it. So that's, and the fact that the insurance companies kind of back them, that's big backing. So it's not like me, RiverWest Acupuncture, saying, hey, I have a problem. And they think, yeah, so what?
We don't care about your little problem.
Yes, but the insurance companies are they're paying and they're getting billed via this platform. So there's a huge push to get that up, get that going. So we're kind of fortunate in that respect.
Yeah, and the insurance companies are most likely Microsoft business partners, and they have that certification from Microsoft. I know when I worked in the insurance industry that most of the carriers I dealt with were Microsoft business partners and paid a lot of money to Microsoft in order to have that partnership. So it's nice that you would have that backing with your billing software.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because we do our scheduling. So if our internet goes down, we're saying, okay, we'll call you when it comes back up. Now we're very fortunate that I think in the 8 years I've been there, I think it has happened once that it happened for any length of time. Like it's gone down and within 30 minutes, it's back up. That's not a huge problem. And that's probably only been 2 or 3 times.
Yeah. Yeah. We had a case, I'm in Vancouver, Washington, and last week, I think it was last week or the week before, the entire southeastern part of Clark County, Washington, Comcast internet was down like the entire day. And that was the first time I've ever known where that has happened. And I had a lot of clients who just, they couldn't perform their daily functions without the internet. It's just amazing how much we've become dependent on it.
Yeah. And we don't, it may be a bad business decision, but we don't have any hard copy backup. I don't make them print out a schedule the night before just in case it goes down.
Yeah.
it happens so infrequently. I feel like the amount of time it takes to do that is not worth, the benefit of the one time that we would have used it in 8 years.
Exactly. Yeah.
And people's tolerance. When I first was when I first was dealing with telephones, if people's phone lines went down for 3 minutes, they'd be screaming about how much business they're losing. And then as time went on and these small businesses would open and they would just work off their cell phones, and we'd say, are you crazy? You don't have cell service. And if you go around the block, this call drops. And as the younger kids came along, they just got used to that. And it became like, okay, so when the whole IP world came along and, calls dropped and it just wasn't a problem to the younger people. The older people were still like, my call just dropped and that's a problem. It's so funny how, what you get used to and what you grow up on dictates how you feel about it,
Exactly. And I've been running my business for 9.5 years on a cell phone.
Yeah.
I've never had a regular telephone system. So, and it works okay for me.
Sure. Yeah.
Really well. So, there are very rare and infrequent occasions when I do lose that cell signal, and everybody's kind of used to it, and they know that if I lose my signal, I'll call them back.
Yeah, exactly. It's just become a way of business. But 30 years ago, when I started in the phone business, when a call got dropped,
yeah, it was a big deal.
Yes.
It was a big deal. Yeah. Okay. Well, any last thoughts, Bev? We're going to be wrapping up our conversation. I've had so much fun talking to you.
Yes.
And any other things that you'd like to tell us about your technology?
Not that I can think of.
Okay. Very good. Well, I want to say thank you so much for agreeing to be on my show. And I really, like I said, I've really enjoyed chatting with you, and I hope my listeners have as well. I'm sure they have.
And I want to thank you for having me on your show. It's been fun.
Awesome. So for you listeners out there, we will next meet on August 23rd when we're going to be talking with Connie Vanderzanden from the accounting department, and she loves to talk technology, so I'm sure we'll have a lot for you all to listen to. So thanks again, Bev. Thanks, Kelly. And
do we have time for one question for you?
Yes.
What is your because you can do everything remotely, how has that opened it up for you to, you could really have a client anywhere in the United States, anywhere in the world, almost, really, couldn't you?
I could. In fact, I've got clients, a couple of clients over in Europe. I've dealt with people in, I think New Zealand. I had a client in New Zealand once. So because of the remote technology that I utilize, all you need is access to the internet, and I can log into your computer and I can resolve your issue. I'd say about 75% of my business I do remotely, and the other 25% are people local here in Vancouver. I usually don't even go over to Portland that much anymore. I try and keep everybody as remote as possible, but it has opened it up so much for me. I think my business has grown tremendously because of the fact that I can connect into computers.
Yeah,
it's pretty awesome.
And not have to drive around.
Exactly. And driving around is a waste of time. It's a waste of money, a waste of resources. And in that time that I spend driving in my car, I could be back in my office taking care of 2 other people.
Exactly. Yeah.
I
think that was a brilliant move on your part.
Pardon me?
I said, I think that was a brilliant move on your part to go in that direction.
Yeah, it's, when I first started my business, I would get in my car and go anywhere. I would drive an hour and a half to do a job. And then the busier I got, the more I realized that I can't be doing this anymore. I just can't be doing this and make a living at the same time. Either that or jack my rates up so high because I'm spending all my time driving, and then people aren't going to hire me because I'm too expensive.
Right.
So I think I found that sweet spot.
Yeah.
I've got a good price point, and I'm able to help a lot of people, and it seems to be working really well for me. So thanks for asking that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm always interested. I don't want to do it, but I am.
Well, I remember one time It was probably, 16 or 17 years ago. I had just moved up here from California, and my grandmother was still in Central California. And she called me one day and she said, Mary, I'm having this problem with my computer and I just don't know what to do. And I couldn't walk her through anything over the phone. I mean, it was just so frustrating because I couldn't speak in terms that she can understand.
Right.
So I actually, one Friday, I hopped in my car and drove down to Central California, fixed her computer, and came back.
That's service.
Right? That's the only time I ever did that.
Oh, wow.
So anyway, so thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you everybody for listening in or watching in, and I'll see you in a month. Bye, Bev.
Thanks, Mary. Bye-bye.